What do we do about cell phones at youth group? If you've been asking yourself that question, keep listening to this quick episode of Student Ministry Connection. Welcome to Student Ministry Connection, a podcast for student ministry leaders who want to connect and grow. My name is Steve Cullum, and I just got back from Global Leadership Summit 2025, and I had such a great time connecting with lots of ministry leaders from all over the world. It was so cool to hear about ministry from Minnesota to Georgia, but also the UK, Australia, South Africa, Brazil, and more. And when I look back in my years in youth ministry, I'm deeply grateful for God's calling in my life, but also for mentors who invested in me and for the training that equipped me to serve and lead well. And that's why I'm so grateful for National Network of Youth Ministries' partnership with GLS Next Gen to provide high quality leadership training from some of the top leaders in the world. This year, for example, we learned from Craig Rochelle. He taught us how consistency closes the gap between good intentions and action. Thasunda Brown Duckett also helped us understand why it's important to have diverse teams. Christine Kane encouraged us to see people the way that God sees them and to not drift from the vision that he gives us. And then John Acuff walked us through how to dream, plan, take action, and review as we lead. If you want to read more, I've got a blog post over on stevecullum.com, and you can check out some of my favorite quotes from this year. And if you missed out on GLS this year, I want to encourage you to go next year, but also be on the lookout for opportunities to grow with GLS Next Gen events and more. Just make sure to follow Student Ministry Connection and NNYM on social media, and we'll keep you informed. And speaking of social media, modern technology is incredibly helpful, but it also creates some interesting issues that youth leaders didn't have to deal with back in the day. One of the most frequent questions that I see in student ministry groups all over the internet is about cell phones. Maybe you even asked this question yourself. Many of our students have been walking in with phones for years, but what do we do with them? The answer, I think, all depends on if you want students to have them or not. There's benefits to both perspectives. And while some of you will say that they're a huge distraction, others will say that they're a tool and we need to help students understand how to use them wisely and that they're not going away anytime soon. So today, I'm not here to debate one side or the other. Instead, I wanted to provide some tips on both sides. So if you want the students to keep their phones but use them wisely, here are a few tips from my experience. Use the YouVersion Bible app or another Bible app where you can. While you might want your students to use a paper copy of the Bible, I totally get that. It's also important to help them feel comfortable using a digital version of the Bible. For the vast majority, they'll be carrying a phone with them the rest of their lives, always having a Bible available. So consider encouraging them to actually pull out their phones when it's time and open to the scripture on their Bible apps when it comes time to read. I've also had small groups who have utilized the Bible reading plans and the prayer requests to keep their group engaged throughout the week. Another tip is to use YouVersion's live events where they can take notes and read and so much more. This is an amazing but not so well-known free resource from YouVersion. You can set up an event within the YouVersion Bible website that students can then access within the mobile app or the website on their phone. You can populate it with message notes and scriptures and fill in the blanks and prayer requests and links to your upcoming event registrations and a lot more. Students can also take their own notes and then save them afterwards. I've also used it for song lyrics when we're meeting off-site away from a computer and a screen. Another idea is to use interactive elements. There are tons of digital resources that allow people to vote in polls or play games and so much more. If students are going to have a phone in their hands, we can use it to our advantage. Give them an opportunity to provide feedback within your message, or have them participate in a game by texting in answers, or do a trivia game where they can answer with their phones. Have them submit photos or videos. The list goes on because there's so many ways that we can utilize the phones in students' hands to enhance what we do. Some places to start looking are Poll Everywhere, Crowd Control Games, Kahoot, and download Youth Ministry's Sidekick app. Just be aware that not all students are going to have a phone, so have an alternative plan for those students, like teaming up with someone else or having an alternative way for them to input answers or play along. And even if you do all these things well, you will still, of course, have students wanting to use their phones at the wrong time or using them improperly. So you should really have policy in place that is very clear for both your team and the students. And then make sure those leaders know how to not only enforce the rule, but also how to help students navigate all of that. For example, just telling students to get off their phones might not work. We need to help the students understand how to use their phones in a healthy way and why using their phones at the wrong time is disrespectful and distracting. So now let's go to the other side. If you don't want students having their phones, one of the best ideas that I've seen is having a charging area with individual lockers so that they can lock their phone in there, but also have it charging. A friend of mine purchased a used locker system online and used a ton of power strips and cables and power bricks to create this amazing charging station. You don't have to go that elaborate though. You could just provide a table with some charging bricks and cables. Over time, as you set this expectation, students will begin to drop their phones off when they enter the room. If you have small groups within your ministry, and I suggest you do, it's also important to think through phone usage in those environments as well. I've had the most success with leaders requiring all students to put their phones in the middle of the circle. The leaders can also take this a step further by placing their phones in the middle as well. No matter what you decide for phones in your ministry, though, realize that a student's relationship with Jesus comes first. Resist the urge to become so legalistic about technology that we miss the opportunity to share Christ with the students. If you have a student who is always misusing their phones, maybe it's time to have a conversation with them apart from your program and see what's really going on. It's most likely something much bigger than just the phone. At some point in the future, this episode might be irrelevant because we've moved on to something other than cell phones, but I'm presuming that the main issue will still exist. How do we deal with things that can either be a great tool to draw us closer to Jesus, or could also be a big distraction in our discipleship journey? And I think that's part of the role that we play in teenagers' lives. We get to help them navigate that. And if you have something that's worked really well for your group, please let us know about it. Send us an email at studentministryconnection@gmail.com or hit us up on Instagram at studentministryconnection. And if you like this podcast, would you do me a favor and give us a positive rating on your podcast app and share it with other people who serve in student ministry? And if you'd like to go beyond that and financially support my ministry with National Network of Youth Ministries that allows me to serve youth leaders in many ways, including this podcast, please head to nnym.org/Steve Cullum, or you can follow the links in the show notes. You'll also find a link to join my prayer partnership team. Both of these teams are incredibly important to what I get to do. I'm really looking forward to future episodes, and I hope you are too, so make sure you subscribe to get them as soon as they're published. And until next time, be sure to stay connected, and may God bless your ministry.